I think I'm going to leave, Lady Divine.
Oh, Mr. David, how wonderful.
You're wonderful, yeah, but she'd kill me on the spot if she knew, or else have me arrested or something.
That's so cruel of her. What could she have you arrested for?
Hundreds of things. There's hardly a law I haven't violated at some time or another. She'd just make one up if she wasn't satisfied.
Why can't we just go to California or Mexico? She'd never find us there, and then we could have each other.
But she would find us. We wouldn't even get 100 miles out of town before she'd have the police out.
Why do we have to go through all this? I don't care where we go. Please, Mr. David, let's get a room upstairs so we can perform acts. I feel lonely without you, and I miss you. And all you ever do is talk about Lady Divine. I hate her. She's making you miserable and me miserable. Let's kill her.
Shh, quiet. Keep your voice down. This place is crawling with cops. She has spies everywhere. She'll be notified.
You are listening to They Must Be Destroyed on Sight. The following podcast contains adult language, adult situations, and spoilers for the movies discussed occur often. You've been warned. Now, take it away, Dr. Rausch.
They must be destroyed on sight.
And welcome back. It is They Must Be Destroyed on Sight Intermission number 30. And this is actually the first one that our new co-host, Lady Lee, has been a part of. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Excellent.
Little recovery day for me today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here we are. It is me, Lee, the most flagrant violation of natural law known to man, Russell. And as I said, Lee, I'm not a bleach blonde hussy that goes around screwing unhired gigolos hardy. We're going to be doing a little intermission here. And this was actually a suggestion from you, which is, I got to say, really cool, because this is kind of a blind spot in my sort of film watching repertoire, I guess, my film geekhood. I have not seen a lot of John Waters stuff, so this was a good suggestion.
I don't even know how we came on to this one. I just remember I knew I had a streaming service that had it. Like, it was the only, I think it's the only John Waters one that's on there. But I don't even remember how. I just remember we said multiple Maniacs. We're like, let's do it.
Yeah. So as Lee said, we are going to be covering multiple Maniacs from 1970, the John Waters film. His first talkie. And then, like I said, like, I know of John Waters. I've seen some of his films, like, you know, being a bit of a film geek, and especially one who likes like lower budget trashy films, it's a little bit embarrassing for me to say, like, I haven't really dug deep into his filmography. So this is like a first time watch for me. And also, I just get the feeling that with our big master list for our regular show, I probably would have never occurred to me to put this on there. For some reason, I probably just would have I just would have been like a block. It would have skipped for me. And so it's good that you suggested it.
Happy I could help.
Yeah. So we're going to take a quick little break. We're going to play podcast promo and some music. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about multiple Maniacs.
There's the show called Movie Melt, and you probably know about it. And it's once every 2. I have no idea how often this is uploaded. And it's a show where a bunch of compañeros get together and we play some fun games, trivia mainly. We talk about new releases. We have some fun games where we try and guess the title of a movie based on stuff that really probably religious people write on IMDb. Yeah, it takes about 20 hours to record. There's always a failure midway through. And then the highlight of the week of the show is reviewing a movie. Usually it's kind of a interesting, lesser-known cult-type movie, and it's quite enjoyable. It sounds good in theory, yes. I might have a listen one day.
Wow. she's nowhere around. Traced her footsteps down to the shore, afraid she's gone forevermore. I looked at the sea and it seemed to say, I took it, baby, from you away. I heard a voice crying in the deep, come join me, baby, in my endless sleep. Why did we quarrel? Why did we fight? Why did I leave her alone tonight? That's why her footsteps ran into the sea. That's why my baby has gone from me. I looked at the sea and it seemed to say, I took your baby from you away. I heard a voice crying in the deep, come join me, baby, in my endless sleep. Ran in the water, heart full of fear. There in the breakers, I saw her near. Reached for my darling, held her to me, stole her away from the angry sea. I looked at the sea and it seemed to say, you took your baby from me away. My heart cried out, she's mine to keep. I saved my baby from an endless sleep, endless sleep, endless sleep, endless sleep.
All right. Multiple Maniacs from John Waters, 1970. And we have a trailer here.
Yes, folks, this isn't any cheap X-rated movie or any fifth-rate porno play. This is the show you want. Lady Divine's Cavalcade of Perversions. The sleaziest show on earth. Not actors, not paid imposters, but real, actual filth. Who have been carefully screened in order to present to you the most flagrant violation of natural law known to man.
You're sick and repulsive.
You, my dear, are dead. Goodbye.
And my dress. Oh.
That's right. Stick those rosary beads where the sun don't shine.
It's a rosary job.
Is
rosary
it?
Job. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's what she said in the movie. I cackled when she said that. That was like that big laugh out loud moment where you're just like, no way. They just say that.
All right. So this is written, directed by John Waters. Just quick on him. So he was making films super early in his life. Around the mid 60s, he was making 8mm and 16mm films. This is shot on 16mm. And all of his stuff, especially up front in the 70s, was filled with like transgressive violence and gore and taboo subject matter. Attracted a pretty good sort of counterculture, outsider kind of following, gays and lesbian content, of course, and spoke to an audience that a lot of movies weren't really speaking to, not only just then, but pretty much throughout all film history. He's known as the Pope of Trash, the Prince of Puke, were some of the monikers he earned over his career, and he sort of wears those as badges of pride from what I've seen in interviews. Some of his most well-known films after this are like Pink Flamingos and Female Trouble from 72 and 74. And of course, he hit it big in sort of like the mainstream, the sort of more, I wouldn't say sanitized, but it appears like they're sanitized versions of what he does in Hairspray in 1988, Serial Mom in 1994, which, like I was saying in the opening here, how my experience with John Waters is very limited. Serial Mom, up until now, spoilers, was my favorite film of his that I'd seen. So, but that from 1994, and of course he did a lot of these with his Dreamland acting troupe of miscreants and friends and people that sadly a lot of them are dead now. AIDS epidemic, drug abuse, that sort of thing. A lot of them are sort of fallen by the wayside, but he's still kicking. This is starring Divine as Lady Divine, David Lockery as Mr. David, Mary Vivian Pierce as Bonnie, and she also doubles as a cavalcade patron. A couple people here double as the suckers they bring into their little freak show, and rob and then later on kill. Mink Stoll as Mink, Cookie Mueller as Cookie Divine, Edith Massey as Edith. What you gonna say?
I was going to say, I like how they keep the names.
Yeah, I mean they keep it really simple here. I mean, as we get into this, we'll talk about it, but this is very low budget and very amateur, to the point where it's like it makes sense that you'll name the characters after the people you're casting, because that way they won't get confused, because some of these people in this are not actors at all.
Really bad.
Yeah. We have Edith Massey as Edith, and also the Virgin Mary at one point. Susan Lowe is Cavalcade Pervert. Rick Morrow as Ricky. Howard Gruber as Gilbert, and Paul Swift as Steve, Cookie's boyfriend. And we have a little synopsis here that does not do the film justice at all, but the traveling sideshow Lady Divine's cavalcade of perversions is actually a front for a group of psychotic kidnappers of Lady Divine herself, the most vicious and depraved of all. But her life changes after she gets raped by a 15-foot lobster. Well, that kind of bookends the film.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, that's like okay, let's make it seem like it's the whole point of the story, but they're literally summarizing like the last 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
Jeez, Lee.
Hey, it's not my synopsis, so
could have had a better one.
Yeah, well, there was another one that was basically, it just went through the entire plot of the film, and I was like, I'm not going to truncate this.
Oh, I saw that too.
Yeah, so this was by Michael Brook. I mean, good on you, Michael. This works for like the back of the VHS back in the 80s or something, maybe. But you know,
yeah, give you the ending away so that when you watch the whole movie, you're like, oh, there's the lobster. Which, by the way, like, how random is that? Who thinks, let's throw a lobster in to rape Divine?
Well, I think we'll get into that. But before we do, when's the first time you watched this, Lee?
This is actually the first time I've watched it from beginning to end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I did watch it the one time and I fell asleep. So this time I was able to hunker down and actually watch it properly.
Mm-hmm. And what are your sort of like general thoughts on it?
Okay, so it's one of those movies where I kind of have like a love-hate relationship with it, because I love it because it's so out there. Like, it's so fucked up. The whole intro, the whole middle, like everything. Like, this movie wouldn't work if it wasn't for the bad acting and like the ridiculous scenes. It's so well done. Like, John Waters is just like a mad genius. Like, the guy is he's true, like, I don't want to say like non-mainstream, but he's like true grunge and gore and that kind of stuff. Like, he's the true. He
epitomizes trash cinema, I think.
Yeah, he's like with a true person when it comes to that kind of art form. Like, that really rejected from mainstream society art. Like, he's the opposite. He's literally the one who spits on it.
He's a the way I kind of think of it is he's a big gay middle finger to normal America, basically. Like, he's kind of like, no, I reject all the things you hold sacred, or at least I'm going to tell you I reject them because I want to shake you up and piss you off and make you a little unsure and scared about the things you hold true.
He uses art in the most amazing way to give the middle finger to. Because I actually took a psychology of art class, and they were always talking about what defines good art, what defines bad art. And realistically, all the class taught me was that art is subjective. Most people who are insanely artistic tend to be suffering from some sort of mental health problem. And people can kind of do what they want, and like, what's the limitations of showing and doing, and what's a cathartic experience and all that stuff. So I kind of took all the learnings that I learned from that class and put it into this, because this was the perfect example. Like, this is just somebody who said, like, threw away the book and was like, okay, let's do this. I've got I think it was $5,000. And let's just make a fuckery. Like, let's just do this.
$5,000 in Baltimore. He got his group of friends. Let's shoot this film. We only have a limited amount of film, so we can't do multiple takes or anything like that. And I mean, this film has flub lines. It's got bad looking scenes that needed multiple takes. Not there. He just left it in. The cavalcade of perversion, those sort of scenes, those opening scenes, I believe they were actually shot on his parents' lawn.
That's amazing.
So I mean, it's very much guerrilla filmmaking here. Like, from what I read, a lot of the stuff he was shooting, like, he did not have permits. So you see scenes where stuff is being filmed in the street and there's like actual people just walking down the street wondering what the fuck is going on. And imagine being in 1970, being like some 60-year-old man out on a stroll, you got your cane, you got your proper suit, you're walking down the street, and then Divine shows up and, she's just disheveled. Maybe one of her shoes is off and she's trying to cross the street or whatever the fuck. And it's like, you saw something that day. You saw something that you probably never saw before in your life. And
it was hilarious. It was awesome to see how much fun a lot of the extras were having too. Like, even the actors. Cause I know the beginning when they bring in the first group to rob them, they're all on the ground, and this one girl she's the one who's like making the most noise. The whole time she has she's huge smile on her face. Yeah. And I thought the best is when they put the tape on her face and it moves, so she puts it back on her face. And there was another one who did the same thing, and they both looked like, one girl looked like she was just bursting out laughing, like, try not to laugh. Like, you just saw that all the people doing this film were just having this like grand old time. Like, they were just super enjoying it.
So when they pile all those people together, right, and after she shoots that one girl for mouthing off, it's just like, you're a pervert. And, oh yeah, well, you're dead, and shoots her. And then there's the dude who's like we got to get her help. It's like, there's no helping her. She's already dead. That guy, even though he's trying to act scared and stuff, he's chewing gum visibly on camera.
I didn't even see that.
He's chewing up to the whole thing. It's fucking amazing.
You could tell it was definitely friends that did this. Like, you could definitely tell that John Waters was like, hey guys, doing a movie, don't really have a budget. Who wants to be a part of this? Yep. And I'm kind of happy it became such an iconic movie. Like, so many people have seen it and so many people have heard of it. Actually, it's kind of cool because RuPaul's Drag Race season 7, they actually did an episode where it was dedicated to Divine and John Waters.
Oh, really?
So they kind of did like a reenactment of some of the scenes in John Waters movies with Divine. Oh. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool, especially since I find that Drag Race now is so about like who can be the most refined, prettiest, whatever, and like Divine is the opposite.
Oh yeah,
like, total opposite. So that episode, it was so early in the season, like now they're at 13 seasons, so this is what 7 years ago now.
Wow.
So you could just see how it went, how mainstream it is now versus like what the roots were from this, like what kind of brings drag together.
Yeah, and Divine is so Divine himself did not identify as a woman, was just a transvestite, gay man transvestite, and the way that he's playing a woman here is just delightfully like sleazy as fuck. Like the first time you see her, it's from the back and totally nude, just like getting ready for the show or whatever. And like the movie is already being like super transgressive. Like just, I mean, you see, what's her name? Cookie. She's topless throughout the entire film. Like she's not wearing a top at all anytime in this film.
So casual.
Mm-hmm. And I love the freak show. I love the cavalcade of perversions here. Like some of them are so just not perverse at all, but it's having fun with it. Like it's like this is what the normies think is really perverse, right? They're attracting all these normies from who still dress like they're in the 60s. So you get like stuff like armpit sniffer, the bicycle seat licking woman, then you
homosexuals making out,
actual queers kissing on the lips. Yeah. But yeah, it like escalates, right? So you start with that, the guy like sniffing the bra and like getting off on it. It's like, okay. And then you get to the puke eater.
Oh, I know it's fake, but yeah. Actually, knowing John Waters, you never know, right?
It actually was like cream corn that he was eating, apparently. But I honestly, cream corn would probably make me want to puke if I was eating it. But cold cream corn, no thanks. Then you get like the junkie and the throes of withdrawal, and I think the best thing is like, so this really plays up sort of the fears of the middle class normies as far as like what they thought hippies and freaks and homosexuals and others outsider counterculture people were actually like. So this really plays this up to like, this is your worst possible fear of what these people are like. And of course it's not remotely true at all. But the cool thing is like, you notice the people, they go in and watch these things happening, and then basically it's a freak show about sexual fetishes is what it is, right? So they go in there and they look at it and they protest and they complain and protest and complain, but they ain't looking away. They keep looking.
Yeah. Oh my God, cover my eyes. Oh my God. But they're still staring, like they're still watching. Oh, yeah. I love when they're just making fun. They're like looking away, doing the whole look thing. Like, oh my God, like, look, how does she let herself do this? Like, probably because they're fantasizing about it.
Look at her tattoo. She's obviously a dyke or whatever the fuck the line was. Like,
oh my God,
man.
I had such a good laugh at that.
I mean, it just feels like Waters is writing down all the bullshit he's heard thrown at himself and his friends. Like, just all the shit he grew up hearing. He puts it on these people as caricatures and he mocks them and makes fun of them and basically sends them up and shows how fucking sad those people are. That's probably, especially for the time, one of the most sort of transgressive things you could have done at this point in cinema. And I really appreciated like just watching it. Like I was just getting a kick out of it, both for the message underneath. And I mean, John Waters, he's pretty fucking humble in interviews I've seen, talking about this stuff, where it's like, I didn't necessarily try to make any big message or anything. I just wanted to make trashy movies that were outrageous. And because that's what he grew up watching. Like, I mean, his influences are just sort of worn on his sleeves. Like he was a friend and a big fan of Russ Meyer. And you can sort of see a lot of that kind of thing here, especially in the dialogue, like the sort of stilted kind of pseudo noir dialogue, sensationalized dialogue that he just has laced throughout this thing. And also, he was a big fan of, and I don't know if you're familiar with this director or not, Lee, Herschel Gordon Lewis. Don't know him? Okay.
No.
So he was sort of known as the godfather of gore. He did a bunch of like exploitation, crime, sleaze films, and like mostly in the 60s. And he's kind of like known as the sort of guy who invented the splatter film. So he'd take all these like sort of exploitation elements in his films, and then he just like drop a lot of like fake blood on them. So he did Blood Feast from 1963 and 2000 Maniacs from 64 are his best known ones. And I'm not going to like play him up as like a great director, because he's not. Like his films are actually pretty bad. Like they're really bad.
Good to know.
Yeah, but I mean, John Waters really loved that stuff. and like he kind of like especially in this film, he really sort of homages and replicates what he saw in those sort of films, like those films that were like really on the skids, like on the sides of Hollywood, like the dirty side of Hollywood, making these really B pictures that were just trying new things and doing weird outside the box shit. And he kind of just does that here. And the best thing about it, I think, and this is one of my big takeaways from this, is a lot of people like these days want to make like a retro film. Okay. So you get like a Rob Zombie or a Quentin Tarantino, and they want to make a film that feels like a 70s film. And the problem is there's a little lack of authenticity there, because they're hiring professional actors, they're making a big production, and they can put like grain filters on the digital film or whatever the fuck and make it look like 70s film stock and shit like that. Here, John Waters, he's recreating those films, but he's doing it exactly the same way that his sort of heroes were doing it in the films that he grew up watching. So this film looks like a Herschel Gordon Lewis film in the sense that it's got the same amateur actors, it's got the same terrible script, really. It's got the same fucking, we can't do 4 shots on the scene to like get it right. It's just done in 1 shot and it looks like shit. He's doing all that stuff, and he's doing it unironically, and I just think it just works fucking perfectly. It's really great.
It's such a trip to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just from beginning to end. First of all, I find Divine, I really enjoyed their acting. Like, I thought it was awesome. Like,
it stands out. Like, yeah. And I mean, Divine even was an amateur here, basically. Like, everybody here is basically an amateur, but Divine is like legit, like just good, like just has it, like just a star. Like,
oh my God, yeah.
Just can act. I watched Divine, and it's like actually struggling with the level of the material. The material isn't actually up to Divine standards a little bit. The only time it feels weird coming out of Divine's mouth is the fact that maybe the script isn't quite up to snuff. Whereas where everybody else is struggling with their lines and they're shooting them off super fast and they're not really acting. They're just kind of reciting, lines and stuff like that. But Divine is just like, Divine's a character. Divine is Divine. Like, it's very much Divine's movie.
It is. I found the interaction with Mr. Dave and Divine. It was a lot of fun. I found they played well off each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that he died. He died pretty young. Like, he was 32 when he passed away.
Yeah, it was. I think it was a drug overdose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is very unfortunate. But I really enjoyed their chemistry. I thought that was really good. I did enjoy. Is it Mink?
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed her. I thought she was really funny.
She's really good.
That seduction in the church. Mm-hmm. Like, that was good.
She's the second best actor in this, I think. She's really good, like, and she just looks good. Like, she actually looks like a movie star in this, kind of thing. And yeah, that whole, hey, we're gonna tell the Catholic Church to go fuck itself, basically. And so
I can't believe they did that.
It's almost the entire third act of the film is it starts with Divine getting raped by like 2 drug addicts, and then she gets picked up by Mink, and like she's in the church, and Mink basically seduces her in the church, and then gives her the rosary job.
Yeah,
yeah, and then they become girlfriends, and all this time there's this whole sort of like monologue thing with Divine, like talking about doing a conversion to religion, although it's definitely not the standard Catholic conversion by any means, but she does it. And it's interesting, there is this story here of like basically this relationship breaking up and these 2 new relationships forming, and then those 2 relationships sort of coming to a head and just everything going to shit because because Mr. David, he's got this new girl he wants to bring on as an act in the show, and he's fucking her on the side, and Divine's like, oh yeah, I know what's going on here. Fuck her. She's not getting in the show. So they decide, well, we need to get rid of Divine. if we can be in love, so we're gonna have to kill her. At the same time, Divine and Mink are like, we need to kill my old boyfriend and her and his new tramp if we're gonna be able to, go forward. So it all sort of collides together at the end quite well, I think.
Oh my God, Mink getting excited about the death. Just as she's standing there, she's like, "Oh my God, can we do one now? I want to keep going." Like, I loved it. I loved it. Like, I loved her. Like, she was a tasty treat.
she's got a death kink, right? She's like, she names off all these different people that they could kill in the future.
Like, she's fantasized about killing.
I gotta say, I turned on her when she said she fantasized about killing Anne Margaret. I was like, no, you guys can murder the Pope, but you don't kill Anne Margaret. Not on my watch. I ain't doing that. But and interesting. This was out just as the Manson murders happened. There was the Manson trial, and like this actually, like almost in real time as they were filming it, was referencing the events of that. And as it was happening, they actually rewrote the script a little bit, apparently, as people actually got arrested and shit. And they make allusions here, like sensation right from the headlines kind of thing, which just sort of plays into the kind of movies that John Waters was watching back in the day. Anyway, yeah, so they try to tie, like, there's a bit of gaslighting here where Mr. David is so fucked up in the head and can't remember shit he's done that Divine has like convinced him that he was a part of the Manson murders and that he was one of the ones who killed Sharon Tate. And so she's been holding that over him, basically, blackmailing him, into submission. Like, no, you're going to stay with me and you're going to stay in line, or I'm going to tell the cops that you had something to do with that Sharon Tate murder.
It was funny how they name dropped that. I don't know how many times too. Like, they said it so many times.
Apparently, it was a bigger subplot in the film that got sort of cut out. But there's still a bit of it in there, I guess. So yeah,
it was good. It was good. It was just, it was just crazy. Like, I feel as if John Waters just had a dream and he's like, here, this is what we're going to do. This is the script. It's going to happen. And we're just going to reenact my dream. That's almost like the sense you get. Cause it's so over the top. Like, it starts off with the tourists getting mugged. So they actually have the tour and you only see those guys once. It's only there once and then they get mugged. And then it goes to, the longest scene between Divine going to see Mr. Dave. Yep. Like, the longest gap of, oh, by the way, she's going to walk, and now she's going to get raped, and now she's going to go to church, and now she's going to get her rosary stuck up her ass, and now they're going to talk about doing a murder, and now they're finally at the restaurant, or I think it was restaurant.
Yeah.
And you find out that they left 15 minutes ago. And it's just the time. I just remember thinking the time lapse. I was like, what is going on? What just happens? Like, when you're actually watching it, you're just thinking of this part. You're like, what is going on?
And I feel like with John Waters, he was sort of emulating those sort of trashy films he liked. Yeah, those films didn't make sense either. Like, the time didn't make sense. So it's like, I'm just going to do the same thing. Just fuck it. I'm just going to, you're not going to care so much because you're much more interested in seeing what Divine's going to do next. So it does, like, this film doesn't really exist in real time at all. Like, it's very much, it gets super surreal by the end because you get to the lobster rape scene.
Yep.
And I mean, that is surreal filmmaking. Like, that's basically the way I interpret it anyway. I don't know if you interpret it the same way. It's basically, this is after the sort of climax where almost everybody gets killed except for Divine. She's just like, she's surrounded by these dead bodies in her daughter's apartment, and she's out of her mind at that point. Like, she goes crazy. And that's where it gets the line, I am divine. And she's just sort of laying there, in her glory. And she has become crazy. And she hallucinates being raped by a giant lobster for some reason. Who knows why? Like, there's no, it's not a callback to anything. It just happens.
It is the most random thing. Like, if anything, you're going to think of an ending or something happening or whatever's going to come into the front door.
Mm-hmm.
Who the fuck thought of a lobster?
I don't know. And then that lobster was made for like I think like $43 or something like that. Like,
they got talent.
Yeah,
it was huge.
It was.
So it was hilarious too, because I understand it was supposed to look like the lobster was raping Divine, but the thing was so big, and they could barely get into the room and barely get it on top of her, that it just looks like it's this awkward like thing going on. Like, you see the actions happening,
Yeah.
so you understand what it's supposed to be, and then she's bleeding afterwards. But when you actually watch it, you're just like, is that angle actually accurate? Like, does that actually work? I mean, I don't understand how lobsters work, but I feel like the positioning was very awkward.
Yeah, I don't think lobsters have penises anyway, so it's not like it could actually rape a person, you know.
No,
at
but
least
maybe huge.
Maybe if it's claws. I mean, but you know, but it's not important. Like, that sort of transitions this film into a monster movie, basically, because then the last sequence is Divine rampaging the streets in her fur coat, attacking people and chasing people, and again, you see more people that were not part of the cast walking casually down the street, seeing Divine chase a group of people. And, you know, so Divine's supposed to be attacking anyone she sees. But, of course, she's not attacking, like, normies, just sort of the citizens walking down the street. She's attacking the group that were hired. And, again, some of them are smiling and laughing because they're having so much fun, right? To being chased by Divine.
Tell it. Yeah. You can just tell.
Mm-hmm.
You just see the group where they're just running away, and like half of them have smiles on their faces.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, honestly. I enjoyed the movie more because I have a suspicious feeling that the cast really enjoyed doing this movie. Because I have done extra work on a TV show because there was one in North Bay. So I did extra work, and it was the most miserable thing I've ever done. Like, if ever I got asked to do that again, I probably wouldn't, because I might have 2 seconds on a screen, maybe, if that. And it was like, 14, 15 hour day of just me sitting around doing nothing and like standing in the cold or standing in the sun or whatever the case may be. It was very, like, it was very.
What was it that you were on?
Carter.
It's
a Jerry O'Connell series. Like
okay.
Yeah. Like, it was just really long, because I was there. I remember being there like first thing in the morning, and then we were there till the end of the night. And again, like, you're hungry, you're tired, you're bored. Like, it's not fun being an extra. And that's why when I saw them and how much fun they were having, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. Like, this is the kind of movie I would want to be an extra in. Like, this would be like that fun moment where Divine is like murdering me.
Yeah, Divine's covered in her own blood and everybody else's blood, and she's just crazed and she's foaming at the mouth. Yeah, she just got done like taking a sledgehammer to her car, and
that maniac. Like, when she kept saying like, "I'm a maniac," like that. Just her face. Like, never. I know they had the makeup. The makeup definitely helps, but her face, her acting, her like the chops she had when she was screaming, like, it was good. Like, you felt it. You felt like her go crazy.
Yeah, no. Again, a really great performance, like, nested in this like movie you wouldn't expect to be good. People not familiar with water stuff, you know, they'll see like the first few minutes of this and go like, what the fuck is this? Even, you know, if you're not into the sort of trash cinema stuff and you're not into like sort of like the high camp that the sort of becomes as it goes along, like, it actually starts out like a horror movie, really. For a little bit of it, like a exploitation movie from the 70s or, you know, the late 60s that has like horror elements and stuff, and then it just goes like so over the top and outrageous that you can't take it serious anymore. There's still like a great message underneath it, but you can't take like any of the offensive stuff anymore like serious. I'd have a hard time getting along with anyone who was like actually seriously offended by this, because it is very transgressive in a way. Like, it does do a lot of, like, there's rape, there's a shit ton of homophobic slurs, but the way that John Waters is doing it is he's mocking the whole thing behind it. Like, he's mocking your slurs. He's mocking the things that you have used to offend and to put down people like him over the years. He's sending it up. He's basically throwing it out in the trash, and I think it's fucking great. I really.
It's a big old middle finger to a lot of. I mentioned earlier, like just a lot of the mainstream art, like just and the mainstream movies, mainstream whatever, like all of it. Just mainstream styles and people and thinking and everything. It's a big old fuck you. Like it's such a right middle finger, and it was fun while you watched it too.
Yeah. I got to say, this is going to be on my. This is a strong contender for my top 10 for the end of the year already. So
I'll see when it comes around, just because you have such a library of movies that you watch. I'll be stoked if it is, though. I will be stoked. I just have this feeling like it's gonna stay there, and it might be an honorable mention. Just you watch so many movies. Oh, I'll be excited to see if it stays.
There's no way, like, if it does not make my top 10, it's definitely going to be in the honorable mentions at the very least. So, but
I'm just teasing you just because you watch so many movies, and it's like we're February right now. We've got 10 more months left.
Yeah, but who knows what happens, you know? Because the way our thing is going, we're going to be watching a bunch of movies from the 30s and 40s, and some of them are going to be stinkers, I think.
I think I can appreciate this one for just really using art the way art should be used versus like the whole idea of art making money and being like popular. And it was really someone who just had this vision and just went for it. And like he said, he didn't really have a message, but it was a good way of saying, we're here, we're queer, deal with it. It was well made for the budget, for what they had, for everything. Like, you could even tell, because they did a really good job. I find he did a really good job at directing, because even when they flubbed the lines, it was very well done that it just kept going. Because there's one obvious point where the girl messes up the line, but she stays in character and still gets that line right. And I think that's really good direction. So instead of encouraging her to kind of stop, it was just like, no, keep that character, keep that line, keep that energy. It doesn't matter if you flub, like just get that line out. So it made it a little bit more rough and around the edges, which I enjoyed.
Yeah, I know you get a feeling Waters really believed in the people he was working with, and this is like, yep, let's do it. Like, bottom line, we don't have the money to redo it, so we're just going to do it, and all the mistakes and flubs anyway just kind of play into what Waters wanted.
Yeah, it made it more authentic. Like it made it feeling more authentic.
So
it was good. Oh my God, Cookie never wore a shirt. I'm not saying I'm complaining, but it's the weirdest thing that Divine was supposed to be the mother and comes out and it's not even like embarrassed or anything. She's like, "Oh, hi, Mom."
Yeah, no, she's with her new boyfriend and like they're basically just making out and fucking and Divine walks in and is like, "Oh, this is my new boyfriend. Oh, hi. If I knew you're gonna be here, I would have gotten some extra jewelry and stuff I stole from the people to give to you and stuff, like it's interesting. There's actually a good mother-daughter relationship in this film too. They actually care about each other. There's actually like some family values in here where it's mocking traditional family values and traditional family structure, but at the same time, Divine and her daughter, like they obviously like love and care about each other and respect each other and try to do right by each other. It's just in there. If you look for it, it's actually in there. Yeah,
it is. The fact that the boyfriend, Mr. Dave, was trying to make fun of Cookie, and Cookie even said, "No, my mom's proud of me.
Yeah,
and my mom thinks I'm awesome." And I thought that was kind of cool because I think it is a good way to make fun of, and I think it's also like an ode to just being respectful to your kids, like because they might not turn out the way you want them to, but love your fucking kids. Like, don't be that asshole who's, you got to give them tough love, and if they don't turn out the way you want to, you shun them out of your family. Like it's just that was especially back then, especially in the gay community. Drag was seen as something terrible. Like people were getting arrested and beat up and killed for dressing up. Like, I don't understand how harmful it is to watch a guy dress up as a woman or a woman dress up as a guy. Like, it's just clothing, but it was seen as such the devil's work or such a terrible thing, taking down masculinity, that this was kind of this beautiful. Who cares how crazy your family is? It's your family. Like, appreciate who you have and love them for who they are. Don't hate on them. I don't know if I'd hang around topless with my mom, but
I mean, you know, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, but I can definitely appreciate. I thought that, like you said, I thought it was kind of a kind of cute moment of the family was fucked up, but they sure as hell loved each other.
Yeah. So yeah, like you said earlier, budget for this was $5,000. It had a pretty good box office considering $33,000 for returns on box office, and I'm sure it's actually probably gained a lot more money over the years as far as like home video releases and stuff like that. As far as releases go, you can get this on Criterion DVD and Blu-ray from 2017. That was released. It's on Amazon Prime, Vudu. There's actually a version on YouTube that's like, it's got like 6 minutes cut out of it, and it's definitely not the restored version from the Criterion print or whatever. And you can also see the Criterion print on the thing you shared with me on Out TV Go, if you want to subscribe to that, which is got all kinds of LGBT movies and content on it, which is there's some interesting stuff on there.
There is. Yeah. It used to have more. It unfortunately, because when RuPaul's Drag Race first came out, that was the only streaming service that had it, and up to date too. So I was right on it. And even like all the drag stuff, because I'm a huge fan of drag. I've been obsessed with drag since I was a kid. I think like Tu Wong Fu was one of the first movies I saw. Yeah, so I got that, and when it first started, it was massive. There was huge amounts of just promotion of LGBTQ stuff, but unfortunately now it's become mainstream. So now they're looking for more of like the hidden gems or the more unusual stuff, versus what before was just loaded with a bunch of stuff. But now being gay has become more popular, which is a good thing. But
I was browsing that, and there's like a I think there's like a Mormon missionary gay movie or something on there too. Like,
I haven't looked at it in a while.
It looked like two Mormon missionaries, and one of them was praying, and the other one's kind of looking at him like, I want to take that white shirt and pants right off you and rip those Mormon underpants off. And they have a few interesting things. It's all about promoting LGBT artwork and art forms and all that stuff. So yeah, there's definitely some really bad stuff. Like, I've watched some movies where I'm like, what am I watching? Yeah. And there's some, like I said, there's some hidden gems in there. This is on there, but John Waters, obviously. Yeah, newsflash, just like everybody else, sometimes the gays make bad movies too. It's fun.
Only human.
Yeah. So just a quick little bit of trivia here. So Cookie introduces her boyfriend Steve as a weatherman. And this is a reference to the Weather Underground, which was a radical left militant group formed in 1969 and was defunct in 1977. And they're responsible for bombings of the U.S. Capitol, Pentagon, and State Department. So,
did not know that.
Yeah. So again, just sort of tying into current events, this film was kind of doing. The original ending was supposed to link Divine to the Charles Manson murders, but when it was discovered that the Manson family was responsible, the ending was changed to what is in the final film. So they're like, actually the revelations of the actual Manson trials ruined the original ending of this film, basically.
That's hilarious.
So Divine was originally going to be responsible for Sharon Tate's murder, apparently, which, okay. Just to put a little cap on this, John Waters was quoted saying, "I made this film which glorified violence at the peak of the hippie love generation, but hippies liked it. Part of the success was to offend my target audience in a humorous way. Of course, that sounds much more calculated than I was." He's also sort of gone on to lament that he can't really make offensive movies like this anymore because they just wouldn't, like, we're kind of in a time where if this movie premiered today, it probably wouldn't get released. probably wouldn't be seen. You know, like it's just kind of, he's gotten to the point where if he made this movie today, he would probably get pushback from sectors of the LGBT community, I think. And sadly, I feel like sometimes some of his films have kind of been grandfathered into acceptance. I think it's just, younger people misreading his films as well, but
it is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even if you think about Rocky Horror Picture Show, that one it was such a revelation movie for a lot of trans. It was like the first time there was anything talk about trans in movies. And now people are talking about how it's transphobic. And it's a lot of the older generation of the LGBT community who's like, no. Like, do not do that. Do not take that. So it's trying to educate people that it wasn't the same time back then.
Yeah.
I don't think they could do something like that again. Yeah. It had its time and he did such a good job with it.
Yeah. You got to keep it in context. I mean, it's fair to be critical of stuff, and definitely call out shit that was of its time that might have been wrongheaded or, there's been rethinking of, but to like just outright dismiss somebody, to dismiss a John Waters film, I think you're actually kind of hurting yourself. You're kind of hurting the message if you do that, because nobody's perfect. Anyone looking for the bright, perfect epitome of like, this is the ultimate gay movie that gets everything right and all that shit, like that's not going to happen. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's making their art from what they know and where they come from and stuff. So it's going to be different all across the board. But
and hold on, we have to rewind a little bit on why this movie would not be accepted today. There was a fucking scene where a rosary got shoved in an asshole in a church.
Yeah. Divine displayed the hams like this, stuck them out there several times in the film, and Mink Stoll is shoving a rosary up her ass in the church and licking her ass, and Divine is loving every second of it. And like the whole soundtrack is dominated basically by Divine going, "Oh yes, oh." Yeah.
So I think that alone.
Catholics, you might not want to watch this film.
Unless you can laugh. Like,
if you can laugh at yourself. If you can laugh at how silly your religion actually is, then you might. Yeah. So, Leah, this was a lot of fun. We're going to be doing a lot more of these since we were on the sort of like the 2-week schedule with the regular podcast, and now that Leah is a co-host and she's bringing a lot of new suggestions and stuff to the podcast, we're going to start like trying to knock off a few more intermission episodes. Have some in the can. That way I can, every once in a while, stick an extra episode in there in the rotation. And just you, the people out there, have more to listen to. So
get to listen to us banter.
Yeah. And again, thank you for bringing this movie to the podcast. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. So, yeah.
I'm happy that I could bring something to you this time versus you just dumping a whole bunch of movies on me every time we talk. You're like, hey, Lee, gotta watch this. Hey, Lee, gotta watch this. And I write these down, so I have these little post-it notes everywhere of like movies I have to watch. And I'm amazed if I get through half of them because it just keeps getting piled on.
Yeah. I'll try to hold off a little bit. You've only probably got like an extra like 20 years on me to watch all these eventually, before you die. So it's
There's only a 10-year difference between us.
Yeah, but I got a feeling you'll live longer. We'll be back when we're back. You can find all our stuff at tmbdos.podbean.com. You should already know this. If you're listening to intermission episodes, you probably listen to the main podcast. So what the fuck am I even doing? Like saying this shit every episode? I don't know.
It's practice.
I guess it's just it's just the sad reality of my life where I just recite lines now and let more smart people talk around me. That's what I do.
I'm a lady. I can't be smarter than you.
Oh yeah. Until next time, thank you, Lee, and thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to They Must Be Destroyed on Sight. For further episodes, our Apple Podcasts, Facebook, and YouTube links, please go to tmbdos.podbean.com. Thank you. Drive through.